Hi, I'm Trina Evans, and I'm your keynote speaker for the 2020 The Difference Is You conference. Obviously, things are a little bit different than we expected them to be. It's certainly different than I expected things to be. In January, I was asked to be your keynote speaker, and I was really thrilled. It's such an honor to be asked to speak. I usually get really nervous when I'm speaking in front of people. And when I do that, I have a tendency to talk too fast and my chest gets blotchy. So I always make sure I wear a high neck shirt when I'm speaking. I don't have the nerves that I usually would have because I can't see your faces. But because I can't see your faces, I don't know your reactions to my stories. So I'm going to try the best I can. I think that's all that we're doing right now. We're all doing things virtually. I'm not sure how many more virtual conferences and webinars and emails and everything that you guys want to see. I know it's been overwhelming for me as well. So I hope that I can hold your attention for almost the hour that I have. So usually you guys are more of a captive audience because you're sitting in your seats and you can't go anywhere. So hopefully I can keep you sitting in your seat while you're on your computer. I tell you a little bit about me and my contributions to the library and all the differences that the people in my life have made, because honestly, really the difference is you. There are so many yous in my story, and so I hope to be that for someone else as well. So I started at the public library as a library clerk, and then I became the library reference assistant, and then I was able to become the library branch assistant. And then, plot twist, I became a school librarian. When did I become a school librarian? January of 2020. If you're surprised by this, I am too. But in March, so I started in January, in March, our school went virtual. So I became a virtual school librarian, and you are currently with me in my classroom. This was my space that I used to teach my library media students library media. So it's a little bit different now this year. We've gone back, we've kind of have a little bit of a hybrid thing where I've got in-person students and in virtual. So I'm used to being on the computer every day. It's weird, but funny story, because I wanted to make this nice for you. So I bought a ring light. So a little fun fact about me, I did buy a ring light for this presentation. Since I wouldn't get to see your faces, I wanted to make sure that you could see my face in the best light. So that's that. I hope you had a chance to maybe read my bio. So you might see that in 2017, I did win the award for The Difference Is You at this conference. So it's kind of exciting that 3 years later, I'm presenting at that. So I think directly following this keynote, you guys are going to find out who the 2020 Difference Is You winner is. Be so curious to see who that is and what they've been doing. I definitely feel like I'm an idea person, so I can't wait to know what other ideas or people are doing. I have notes. Anyway, I did make a note for myself. I get really excited and I start talking too fast and I don't enunciate, or I get too loud. So adjust your volume. But unlike an audio book, I don't think you're able to adjust my talking speed. So I will try to remember to pace myself and keep looking at the camera. I also, in 2018, I won a really cool thing. The Library Journal, each year they have this like Movers and Shakers edition issue. And I was nominated as an innovator. So that was pretty cool. So it's really amazing that when you love your job and you're really passionate and you have ideas and people are able to help you, that you get acknowledged for it. I'm only sad that everyone, can't get the same recognition that I have, because so many things that I have done, I couldn't have done it without all the help of all of the staff around me. So I won those things a little bit, a little history is I I had a big part. We had this Discover Tech like traveling exhibit. It was all about STEM, and in libraries we're really trying to introduce that STEM. And so I did a lot of really cool programming with that, and we did some amazing things. And then we were able to get like multiple traveling exhibits out after that. So programming is definitely my heart. I love doing anything with programming and having the ideas. But I definitely need someone that's a little more analytical and thinks about the logistics and gets all of those things down. So I'm never able to do it without someone else. And then I was also able to help create a Nature Explore outdoor classroom at one of our smaller branches. And that was, really just so amazing because it was something that came together very quickly. And I had an idea, and I was able to really work with some experts and library staff to get that going. And that's definitely been super amazing for one of our smaller branches. But when I first started, when I was a library clerk, I just knew that I wanted to move up. And so I would just look for ideas, and I always just thought, oh, the library can do so much. And I wrote a grant for sewing machines, and we were able to get sewing machines, and we still have those. I love that we're able to bring that. And then one of the things that I think I'm probably most known for is, you might be able to see it just right there, there's a poster. I was able to get a really cool street art piece. You may have heard of Banksy. And there was this artist that was able to there's this whole video right there, Saving Banksy, this whole video. And it's funny because one of our librarians, in collections, she got this documentary called Saving Banksy, and I took it home to watch it because I love street art and I love documentaries. Because she put that in her collection, and because I watched it, then I was like, hey, how can I contact these people? Because I think we need to have that at the library. It's just in storage. And so we were able to get that, and we were like the first library in the world, and it became this traveling piece. So that was really cool. The world is a different place. I was able to connect with people on Twitter and then make these connections and just ask. I'm never afraid to ask. I always ask. You never know if people are going to do it or not, but we were able to get that, and that really was really special for our library. There's a lot of other fun things I like to do. One of my favorites is like the Galentine's event. But none of these things are possible without the help of everyone else, because I have to have someone that's like, oh, I have a good idea for marketing. And then I have someone that understands like budgets. They're always giving me budgets and there's numbers. And I usually put a wall up if it has to do with numbers or math, because I like reading and I like words and I like books. So if you know someone that has to do like Excel spreadsheets and all those things and they can color code it for you, then it's definitely good to partner with them. So that is kind of, why I've gotten recognized because of these different things that I do. If you are curious, as a side note of how I became a school librarian, I'm going to say that if you ever meet me in person, ask me that story. And that way, that'll be our fun conversation starter. I was hoping that we would see each other in person, which we're not going to, and that we would kind of be able to talk throughout the day in those breakout sessions. But you never know, right? I always say like life's a plot twist. Like every day, it's like plot twists, especially this year, 2020. I have no idea what's happening month to month. I was unsure if we were going to have this conference, but the world is an amazing place that really adapts to these new norms, and maybe conferences will always be virtual. Maybe this is the way it'll be. But if you see me in person and you want to know this story, get with me and I'll let you know. So really, I think the best way to go about my thoughts on the difference is you is really kind of scale it back to the beginning. So people always ask me, I didn't grow up in Indiana. I actually grew up in California, and it didn't come here until I was a teenager. So I didn't see snow until I was a teen. I have to say that if I could go the rest of my life without seeing snow, I think I would be okay with that. But I really do love Indiana. It's been a great place to raise my family, but I don't know how much I love winter so much anymore. But people always say like, well, how did you get here? Like, what are you doing here? If you grew up in California, what's that big move? And I always say, tragedy. Honestly, tragedy is what brought me here. And again, I'm not going to go into the tragedy of what started the transition of my life. I think always, these plot twists, these sliding door moments of how your life can move is really interesting. And so one day you can read this in my book. I don't know if anyone else has a title. So right now, think in your mind, if you could have a title for your book, what would it be? So think about your life title. So I always think when I write my story, the title of my book is going to be called Bored, Cheap, and Cheerful. So Bored, Cheap, and Cheerful, look for that in 2027. But anyway, so tragedy struck, and I'm in Indiana as a teen, and so you can imagine the teen years are very difficult already without having that thing that brought me here that was pretty traumatic. I remember I saw this keynote speaker, and I remember her talking about her life and how she took the scenic route. So I really feel like I related to her so much because I also took the scenic route. I graduated from school and I started college, and I was a teen pregnancy, and then I tried to have this very traditional family until I really lost, I felt like myself, like my identity, and I knew that I needed to go back to school. And so I went back to school to get my bachelor's degree, and I remember I knew that I wanted to work in a library, but no one had ever really talked to me about working in a library or what steps I would have to take. And I have to say, in my childhood, the library wasn't a big part of my life. I knew that I liked to read, that I was a reader. I didn't have a lot of books, but I just remember I would read cereal boxes. I would just read the back. Anything that was there, I wanted to read it. If anybody had any books. So I think at a very young age, I probably read very adult, we could get into the, discussion of what is appropriate, not as appropriate. I read everything, probably some things that were beyond my understanding, but, I definitely, I just was a reader. And so I kind of took the scenic route, and I knew I wanted to work in a library. And so I applied at a library, and I applied at a library, and I applied, and I applied, and I applied at a library for 6 years. And I remember one time, I even, with my application, I made a book. And I even put this author, the background of myself and some ideas that I had. And I thought, okay, this is going to get their attention. And I remember, I still didn't get any information. I took, stuff to the library. There was a time you could actually take, things, and everything wasn't online. And I remember leaving the library, and I was crying to my husband. I said, I love the library so much. I don't understand why they don't love me. And it, was really difficult to, just constantly not be able to have the job that I thought that I was meant for. And so, I did other jobs, and I had a lot of great experience in those jobs that I really loved, but I knew I wanted to be at the library. And so I remember they had another cattle call. So instead of having you just applied, just a cattle call, a bunch of people, and a ton of people showed up. And I said, this is it. This is the last time. I honestly can't take the rejection anymore. I can't take the failure anymore. This is it. And I had a job at that time that I loved. I was a nonprofit program director. I was commuting, but I thought, this is it. It's the last time. And I went in, and it was for a part-time clerk. I was working full-time. And I remember, they said that they saw on the application, well, you're working full-time, you're making this amount of money, you're only going to be making part-time. And I said, oh, it's fine. I'm married. I don't need the money. Lie. Just telling you right now, my secret. This was a lie. I wanted the job so bad. I was willing to do anything. My husband was definitely supportive, anything that we could to get my foot in the door, because I knew that I would work for full-time. I knew it. I knew I would get full-time. So, the Lorries, there's these, right? The difference is them, Lorries. So these two amazing Lorries are interviewing me, and they took a chance on me. I was full-time. I said it didn't matter. I said it was fine to be part-time. And of course, as soon as I started working, I thought, I'm going to show them. I'm so valuable the things that I'm going to do, they're going to want to give me more hours. They're going to want me to work. And so that for me, it made all the difference. It was them. Lori, you, all the Loris, you're the difference. So they're the difference in my story because I wanted that so bad. And at the time, I just had a bachelor's degree. I didn't want to get a master's degree yet because I didn't want to get a master's degree for some place that I couldn't work. And I really wanted to stay local. So once I started working, I definitely knew that I wanted to go back to school. So opportunities came open where there was a reference assistant and I applied for that and then I got that. And then, I was working on my master's degree because I wanted to show them, look what I'm doing, look what I'm putting in. I'm willing to get this education and spend this money. We won't even get into school loan debt on that one, but I was willing to do that because I wanted to be at the library. I love the library so much and I love everyone there so much. But even though that was my work ethic, I couldn't have done any of those things without all of the staff around me. So they would encourage me and say, yes, you can do this idea. And then I'm working with these amazing librarians, right? Just like they have all of this knowledge. They've been doing it, 10, 15 years plus. And they were willing, to teach me their skills and how, just the talks that we had. I feel like the public library is such a space of great conversation. I love, the patrons that come in and the conversations, but really everything, that interaction, it's so important. And really the difference is like our frontline staff, like the clerks that work, and they pretty much have the interactions with every patron, they're the ones that get the complaints. But their reaction, right? Like when they're smiling and they're present and they're pleasant, and then they're giving them information, because sometimes patrons don't understand that come in and everyone that works in the library is a librarian. So I love when that staff would, just answer the questions and say, no, you have to go over there to that person. I love that custodians, when they're working in the stacks or just working around, people assume they're librarians and they want their help. And I love that they'll stop and they'll give them that information and say, no, I don't do that. That's not my job. So just know that in every area that you are in the library, you make a difference. The displays, I visit the public library all the time still because I love it. And I try to get ideas for the school library. The displays you make, oh my gosh, there's such amazing talking points. I love that when I come in and it's like a seasonal time, and that information is there for me. So right now, it's fall. And so what does our library have? You go in there and it's like, here are the area pumpkin patches and, the apple orchards. And I love that I can go in there and get that information. I love everything about it, that, there's programmings of like what's happening in the world. And then they're going to put that information out. It's going to be available by either a display or like a blog post or a social media post. We're adapting always. And then, that information is there for the patron. I think, for having a place where people can come in if they just want to talk about books, or they just want to, as they're making copies, they want you to read their funny joke. Really just being there is so amazing. I just don't think there's any other place like a library. And every staff member that is in a library is so very important. I honestly think it's like the best place ever. Yet I'm at a school library right now. Remember, if you see me, we'll talk. So again, I applied 6 years. And I worked my way up, right? Eventually I got that full time. And then I definitely had goals for myself of like, I want to do this so I can be employee of the year. And I want to win this award. And, I like doing that because I think it's good. Like anytime you have recognition, like in the papers or something, then people are talking about the library and they're wanting to do that. So I got that recognition and I'm so very lucky. I definitely think, I couldn't have done it without everyone, around me. So just think about, I have to look at my notes so that I make sure that I stay on track. So I want you to think about the things that you do. And just, for a moment, like is there one person, like even if it's just one person, it really makes the difference. I don't think we realize how a singular person can change everything. I talked about, my beginnings. I was very fortunate to grow up where my mom recognized that she couldn't always give me the time that she needed because she was busy working as a single mom, and enrolled me in an amazing program called the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. So my big sister was probably like the single most important person in my life. That one person, I, I think I was 7 or 8 when I had a big sister until I moved to Indiana when I was 13. And those years were just so important. And I still think about her. And a lot of the things that I do, I definitely like to volunteer. I like to donate my time because I realize like how important that is. I think we have to realize like nonprofits are a really special place. And so that one person. So think about, not everyone has that opportunity to have, like a Boys and Girls Club or some kind of mentor. But we hear a lot, when people say like the library was that place for them. So when they come in, you see these regular patrons, and you have them, these regular patrons, and you see them and you talk with them, and you're probably thinking that, it's just regular patron, right? They just come in all the time. You happen to know them, but you don't realize the role that you're playing in their story, who you are. I think it's a lot of times we don't recognize, and we don't really tell. There's like so many people in my life that were really important, but I didn't go and tell them how important they were, and I think sometimes you don't even recognize it until you get older, how important that was. So just know that like when you're in that public space and people are coming in, and maybe it isn't a regular, maybe it's someone that's only come in one time, think about how that would feel if you come into a library. And I think sometimes libraries can be intimidating. People don't always understand the system of how books are put up or really what is available. But think about if you come in and someone is very kind and open to you and is explaining things to you in a way that doesn't make you feel insecure because of not having the knowledge of understanding the system. I know that when I worked at the library, and I still do this in the school library too, what I try to do is like a walk and talk. And so like if someone says, I'm looking for this title, and I'll say, oh, let's look. And I'll look at the computer where they pulled it up maybe and say, oh, it says, this is like fiction. This is the call number, and I kind of use the library terminology just so they get used to it. And I'll say, oh, here's the locations that's available. We're at the South Branch location. They have some at the other location. We can have that sent here for you, but it looks like it's on our shelf. Let's go look. And then as we're looking, I'll kind of explain the library. At our library, and I don't know how it works for you, we kind of have a system of it like going older to younger. So I'm always like, if you start over here, this is the older titles of like the adult, and we go into the, young adult, and then it goes down to juvenile. So I kind of talk about that when I'm walking, right? And then I'll say, oh, look right here at the end cap, this is the fiction section. And then I'll say the author's name. And then what I'm doing, I kind of like talk out loud. So that way I don't have to ask them if they know. And if they know, then it just looks like I'm a chatty person, which I am. And so I'll just go through and be like, oh, here we go. So I'm looking for fiction, Evans. Okay, A, B, C, D, E, Evans. Oh, here it is. And then I hand them their title. So I think it's just like really important always to try to give our patrons, information without making them feel like they have to ask for it. We make a lot of assumptions in life about what we know. I know for me, it's really hard, especially when I started in the school system. There's a lot of acronyms, and there's a lot of acronyms in the library world too. And that's really difficult when you're not familiar with it. And sometimes you're just like, I just cannot remember what that stands for. So I try to remind myself. I know we do it so often because we get so used to it, but not everybody understands the jargon or the acronyms or know where locations are. So I think just, try to be as helpful as you can. And, maybe you're a little bit chatty like me. I'm a chatty girl. So, But yeah, so I'm trying to slow myself down so that I can tell you my story. But I just think that, we have to remember that really the difference is us, right? It's you, it's me. Those little things. I know for me, like even if I'm going through a drive-through, which everything is like drive-through now, and people are very stressed. I feel like if someone I happen to like terms of endearment, not everyone likes this, but I remember there was this McDonald's that I used to go to, and there was this older woman, and I started going just to that McDonald's because I wanted to see this lady, and she would hand me my sweet tea, and I think she'd always be like, "Have a great day, hun. Have a great day, sweetheart," or I don't know. She always, it was a woman too, and so I was more open to that term of endearment than maybe if it was a male. It definitely came out in affectionate, not in a way that I felt uncomfortable. And I found myself wanting to go to this McDonald's because it brightened my day. And it was, it's 5 seconds of my life. But, and then if I would go somewhere else and someone was like grumpy or, I found that, those things like affect my day too. I try not to let everything affect me, when people have, negative energy or all of that stuff going on where someone else clearly is having a bad day, and you try not to let it, affect you. But gosh, sometimes it's really hard, when someone's in a grumpy mood, it starts to honestly rub off on you. So if you can just be, a little bit nice, or sometimes take yourself away. I definitely know that there was times that I would get very frustrated, working in any job that I've ever had. And just knowing that and saying I need to remove myself from the situation. And this is going to sound terrible. I need a little sugar sometimes. I'll just go back and give myself, I'm not recommending this. It's not the healthiest thing, but I'll go and get some candy, and it makes me feel happy. I think there's some science behind that. But anyway, the sugar makes me happy. So if that's what you need to do, or if you just need a little breather, I definitely always, when I worked at the library and still now, I always make sure that on my lunch breaks, I really, seclude myself somewhere. I go outside for a walk so that I can, kind of refresh, because, we have all of this stuff coming at us all the time. And I think it's really important to, give yourself that time to kind of recharge. So for me, I have a little sweet treat so that I can go back and be the best that I can. I know that it's hard, in a world where it's there's just so much that a little kindness goes such a long way. I want to share a story, and I just love this so much. And, I feel like I'm a lifelong learner. I want to be a lifelong learner. I want to have a lot of teachable moments for myself as well as others. But recently, it was just this, today's Monday. I'm like, what day is it? I don't know what day it is. Anyway, so last week, I think it was, I had a student who helped this girl. So I teach high school level, but I'm a librarian for the middle school. So the middle school and the high school are connected by this library. So the middle school comes over to check out books. The high school are kind of like my library workers. So I teach them about working in a library. Kind of cool. And so the 5th grade students come in, and I have to say, because it starts at 5th grade in the middle school, they're transitioning from elementary. They are rowdy, right? They're a rowdy bunch, sometimes hard to get settled down. So we had this 5th grade class come in, and it's a little chaotic. Well, it's a lot chaotic. And so there's this chaos, and, in the library media, there's very few students. So I only had 2 students in there, so I have one at the circulation desk, and, she's checking out all the students. And the other student has his Chromebook open, and he's helping, if a student's well, where is this book? I can't find it. And so we had this young girl who wanted a book. And so she came to me at first, and I was like, nope, sorry. The book isn't here, it's checked out. And then, I'm like, hey, next person, because I'm also trying to help check out books, 2 lines, and it's just chaotic. And so I kind of just I'm sorry, it's not here. she wants to ask me again, and I'm like, no, it's not here. So she doesn't like my answer. And I think I didn't give her enough attention. Honestly, I didn't, because I was trying to get through the line of the fifth graders. So she goes over to this other boy who is a student helper, and she's like, I want this book. And so she shows him on her computer, this is the book I want. And so she really wasn't accepting that it wasn't there. So I remember watching him and just being in awe and embarrassed that I didn't do this myself. He really slowed down his pace. He was talking to her and was like, well, what is it again? And she showed him on the computer, and he goes, well, I see it's not there, but let's go look. And so he took her over to the shelf, and they looked at the shelf, and he showed her, he was like, this is where the book would be. I think it's checked out, but when you come back next time, let me help you get a different book. And he took her over because she honestly started panicking, got very upset, was kind of crying, kind of starting to slam down, like definitely having a moment, like a little bit of a tantrum. So he definitely calmed that down. I didn't have to intervene, but I was watching it because I was amazed, because this is a teenage boy, in a library media class, and we're still new into the year, and this girl is really kind of having a meltdown, and he takes her over. Well, I think he finally got, like, she's going to check this book out. Well, then she looks around and she realizes her class is left. So she was like, I have to go. And she left, and she was like, I'll get it next time. But I was so impressed that he was able to really calm her down and, say, like, I can find you. I mean, the difference wasn't me. The difference was him, right? And so I tried to remind myself of that. Luckily, at our school, we just started this positive behavior system where you can give points. And I remember that today. I was like, I need to give him points and, praise him for a job well done, because it was chaos, and she left, and, the bell's ringing and the kids leave. And so I didn't even get to tell him that he was amazing. He didn't even know that this moment was, it was great. And it was cool to see that. I was proud of him. And I really think that we need to remember that sometimes when people get angry with us, and it happens, people get very upset about the fines if you're still doing fines. I don't think libraries should be doing fines. That's personal disclaimer. That's my own opinion. And people get very upset even on like a 10-cent fine. So not a fan. I get that, you want your book back and stuff. But anyway, side note, sorry, easily distracted as well as easily excitable and fast-paced talker. So I definitely think, we need to remember those moments when people are upset, and I think it's so easy that when someone reacts in a way to you, you want to give it back, but it's so enlightening and amazing when I see someone that doesn't give back that same reaction. And by him being calm, he did calm her down. His reaction, she overreacted, he slowed it down, and really so impressive that the difference is him. It's a good thing to see you guys in the schools, because the schools are a crazy place right now. I have to say, but I'm so happy that as I'm talking to you right now, that I'm not wearing a mask. But when I'm at school, because I have hybrid in-person and virtual students, I have to wear a mask. And I get so very hot, and I don't know if they can actually hear me because it's hard, to enunciate. And, so I'm very thankful today that I can talk to you without having a mask on. I'm just going to look at my time to make sure that I'm not going over. I'm still good. So just know that the difference is you in every way possible. Like I hope that to be inspirational to you if I can. I don't know. It's a weird world. So I think that, if we can take inspiration anywhere we go. I know for me, I don't know if this is delusional, but, I have some social media, and, my tagline is an inspirational true story in the making. So I'm hoping that one day I will be an inspiration to somebody. We all have our own ways of doing things. I know that my thinking sometimes is pretty abstract and, more idea. I feel like I see things in my head that will work really well. And not everybody responds to that. And so sometimes it's nice to have someone else that I can tell that to, and then they're able to maybe explain my idea in a way that, is communicated effectively. I know that I was super lucky that, I had supervision in my job where they really just kind of like, I don't really know what your idea is, but go crazy. And I used to do it all the time. I used to go to my boss and say, I have a crazy idea. And they would really let me roll with it. They really trusted me. And so I like that. Where I'm at now, in a school system, it's a little bit different, but because I am the only school librarian, I do have a lot of leeway too, which I like to have. So I get to kind of, experiment with my students. So that's a really good thing too. And then, if you won't believe, like I'm so distracted right now, sorry. I'm filming at my home, and so I can now hear that someone is out there in the kitchen. So that's it. That's 2020 conferences, right? But again, I always know that like what happens in my head, I can see, the end result, but always not able to communicate that. So I'm always thankful of those people around me. So I know that for our Nature Isler outdoor classroom, and you can always, I did a webinar with, about that and how that got started. But I know that one of the things we wanted to keep the programming up. And so it's really more of like a passive space that people can just, go and get these experience backpacks, and then they can kind of do their own thing. And then we did programming. And I know for us, like fall, we definitely didn't want to just be like a summer thing. So like in the fall, I remember thinking like, I want like a straw maze in this pavilion, and it's a small space, so it's not huge, but I just knew like I wanted a straw maze. But in my head, like I couldn't just lay the straw out, right? So but I knew that I needed that, so I actually had to go to my son and I said, I'm going to give you these Legos, and I need you, you can have this many bales this way and this many this way. It's going to make this perfect square. And somehow I need an entrance here and an exit here. And I need you to like lay this out for me with Legos, because otherwise I can't figure out like how to put this. And so my son was able to like take these Legos. And so I had to like take this like little Lego thing, to the outdoor classroom in the pavilion to be able to lay out the straws. I'm so thankful, we had like 100, I think, bales come. Like if I wouldn't have had the help of like the custodians and other staff who are willing to volunteer their time, otherwise it would have just been me out there like hauling these straw bales. So I love that too, that when we're in a library, that people will come, like, we have this department here, we have this department here, but they'll say, oh, I can co-mingle with you and I can come help you make this successful. And then we just had like a great time, because really we want to create those spaces of like now this free straw maze. And it was really like small for like younger kids, but it was like a free space, small, where you could see your kid going through. And then we made like a little area where they could take pictures. But just having that component of like, okay, you can come here. Maybe that was your destination. That's really what you wanted. But now you're like, well, while I'm here, I need to wash my hands and go to the bathroom. And now I'm going to go into the library, and oh my gosh, look at all these resources. Look at these books. Look at these amazing things. And again, that frontline staff, like the clerks, they're so amazing, because people have no idea everything that's offered at the library unless you tell them. So I love that the frontline staff would say, did you know that this program is coming up and we're going to have this and it's free? Did you know that you can check out these experience kits? Did you know that you can get a hotspot? I love that with every checkout that any person gets, and this is what I've seen from my library staff, is that they're always talking, right? And saying, did you know that we have this? And then I think it just comes this domino effect of like, they tell someone else, and then they're like, did you know that when I got this, how helpful that was to me? It's amazing. And same, like just recently, we all, like in January, I started a school librarian, March virtual. I was at home teaching. I had a high school student at home. I had my college son student come at home, and we're all trying to do stuff with the internet. And I'm in a place that doesn't have great internet. I was able to go to the library and check out a hotspot and a Google Chromebook for my daughter so that we could get through, this crazy virtual quarantine thing that we did. So I just, the impact that libraries have, like, and each component of each person is so special, all the way, we have that frontline staff to our collection development, right, to the people that are making the programs, to the people that are telling us our budget. Oh, I love when they tell me I have money that I can use. That, that's so exciting, and to our directors and our assistant directors that like give us the go ahead, because when I had the idea to bring the Banksy, I had to get that approval and we had to just pay shipping, but it was costly. And what if that director wouldn't have had the vision and not thought that street art was a good idea to bring to the library? So it's amazing, sometimes all someone needs to do is just tell you yes, right? So it's just like super amazing to me, that all these little components make this amazing place and space and world that we live in. So everything depends on you, right? The displays you create, the bonds you form when you're working, and the knowledge that you impart. I'm always so thankful from all the staff and all the things that I've learned over the years. Things I continue to learn. I constantly go into the library needing something from them. Can you help me? Can I get this? To the friends of the library. I see like beautiful social media posts where people are so thankful that they can get books, at a discounted cost. And I'm only talking really discounted cost. And then, I'm thankful for people that know how we can adapt, right? Because this year, like even with the Friends of the Library sale, it wasn't that traditional that you can just come in and browse and touch everything. They had like a curbside pickup. So thankful for the libraries that come up with these ideas of doing curbside. I've heard of libraries using drones, libraries that are doing all of their programming online. Like it's fascinating to me. And these things are, not easy because we're having to relearn everything, but how quickly we adapted. And then all the libraries, the most amazing thing ever is that like when they have this knowledge, when they have these resources, they share, right? So it's not like every person has to keep redoing it. It's like, no, I want to share with you. And I love that. I love that librarians and libraries share that information and they share it freely. It's such a beautiful place. And so I hope you have the love for the library like I do. And if not, I hope, you'll grow into that love and share it, because it's just, I don't know, I think it's like the greatest place ever. There's no place like it. So just know the difference is you. I know the difference is me too, like in everybody's story. And it, hopefully the difference is a good one. Like I don't want to make an impact that is negative. So I try, and I just keep trying. And when I have a bad day, I try again. So just know that I'm trying to be an inspirational true story in the making. But what about you? Hope to see you in person really soon. I hope someone watched this video. I don't even know if there will be anyone. It's a strange year. Hopefully we'll see each other again. We'll just keep adapting. Thank you.